Nick Kostos, Jamey, Eisenberg, and Dave Richard with you. Fantasy football today for CBS Local Sports. Starts and sits for week number 2 in the National Football League. Jamey at quarterback. You are looking to lock in Eli Manning of the New York Giants.
And I hope Eli Manning is locked in against the Saints defense that do they really play defense? I don't even know if they play defense.
Technically, they play defense.
They played a little bit of defense on Derek Carr last week in terms of his fantasy production, only holding him to 23 fantasy points. I think that's the floor for Eli Manning against a secondary that's playing 3 cornerbacks that made their NFL debut last week. No Delvin Bro. Manning lights them up.
So Eli Manning's going to kill the Saints this week per Jamey. Derek Carr got them last week, and Dave, you like Carr again this week for the Oakland Raiders.
Definitely a top 10 fantasy quarterback. It wasn't a flash in the pan, and it wasn't just because they took on those Saints. This is a good passing offense, good offensive line. They're protecting Derek Carr. He's got time to throw, and he's got good weapons to go with. I'm not impressed with this Falcons defense. They allowed 4 touchdowns to Jameis Winston last week. Derek Carr at home is going to be a monster.
Running backs now in standard leagues. Jamey, your start of the week, irregardless of position, Jonathan Stewart of the Carolina Panthers.
Love his matchup here against the 49ers, even though they did a good job against Todd Gurley last week. But you go back to last year, same thing happened. They did a great job against Adrian Peterson in week 1, had to go across the country and play a 1 o'clock start against a team that played on Thursday night in terms of Pittsburgh. D'Angelo Williams beat them up. I think Jonathan Stewart does the same thing. Very good track record at home, 4 of his last 5 home games. Double digits in fantasy points. He does it again this week.
PPR leagues now at running back, and Dave Spencer Ware, a fantastic effort in week 1. Will he keep the good times rolling in week 2?
I think there's no doubt about it. It's a tougher matchup now. He's going up against the Texans, but I think he's still going to catch a lot of passes out of the backfield and be that main running back for Kansas City. And until Jamal Charles comes back, I think Spencer Ware is a must-start in fantasy. Value's only going up. Take your time coming back, Jamal. We don't need you here. Spencer Ware's got the numbers to bring it home.
Standard leagues now at wide receiver. Kirk Cousins, not good on Monday night, but you think he'll connect with Deshaun Jackson early and often coming up Sunday.
Very good track record against the Cowboys, and we saw last week Dallas allowed 2 touchdowns to receivers in Sterling Shepard and Victor Cruz, and they probably would have had another one to Odell Beckham if he came down with a touchdown in the end zone. I think you see Deshaun Jackson. He's been very good. The pairing between Jackson and Cousins, especially back end of last year, beginning part of this year, he's in a contract year. He's earning that money.
PPR leagues now, and Dave, it looks like Sam Bradford will start at quarterback Sunday night for the Vikings against the Packers. Does that help receiver Stefon Diggs?
Absolutely, and I think this is a guy, if you've got him on your team, you know to start him in a PPR league, and if you don't have him on your team, regardless of what the format is, trade for him before Sunday. I think he's going to go off this year. At first, I thought maybe 800, 900 yards. That was as good as it was going to get for Diggs. Now I think he can get over 1,100 yards, especially with Bradford as his quarterback. I think the ceiling is sky high, and if Sam Shields doesn't play for those Packers, door's wide open for Diggs to really dig in.
Tight ends now in standard leagues. Eric Ebron will be looking to dig in on Sunday, Jamey, against the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, I think you look at the matchup, it's very favorable for him, and you look at what he did last week, had a very good season opening performance. He would have been the guy we were talking about as a must-start guy if he had played all along in the preseason, but he had that ankle injury, but no worries anymore. Look good in week 1, will look great in week 2.
Dave, PPR leagues now for tight ends. You are locking the old warhorse Antonio Gates into your lineup.
Remember that guy? He's pretty good, and I know last week he was a big disappointment, but we knew that was going to happen against Kansas City. Now it's Jacksonville. Their secondary isn't great to begin with, especially for tight ends. They're banged up. They lost Prince Amukamara. Phillip Rivers needs a target to go to with Keenan Allen out for the year. I think Gates is a guy that's kind of gone under the radar this week. Everybody's focused on Tyrell Williams, Travis Benjamin. Gates scores against Jacksonville.
Scored twice against them last year?
Yeah.
Those were your starts and sits for week number 2 for Dave Richard and Jamey Eisenberg. I'm Nick Kostos. You've been watching Fantasy Football Today on CBS Local Sports.